Have you done Rogan?
I did Rogan once.
Is that like walking into the?
It was look. I knew Joe back in the '90s, and
Yeah.
he's a perfectly nice guy. I live in a very. You want to hear a really tortured analogy?
I do.
You want to? Is this the tortured analogy section of the show? I know the. Oh,
That's what
there
it
you go.
says right there. It's between
So
the
I
Empire
was-
State Building and the carousel right there on the logo.
I was friends with a writer named Harlan Ellison, sci-fi writer, and when he was young, he was friends with L. Ron Hubbard. When L. Ron Hubbard was just a pulp writer, and he was perfectly fine. Some of his stuff sucked. Some of his stuff was good. He was where I could write a story in a night and get my $30 for it. We lived in a men's hotel in Times Square. This was in the early '60s. Hubbard he would gobble a bottle of amphetamines and write a novel in a night. A novel. He could write a novel and then just go, "There's my novel."
I get it.
He goes, and he was perfectly okay. And now I live in a world where that guy, my hallmate, controls a zombie army that will do whatever he wants and will destroy people. And he lives, he's dead, but maybe not. And for a while, he lived on a boat because he had so many billions and didn't want, like, how is this the world I'm living in? And I have a similar thing where I knew Joe in the '90s, perfectly fine comedian, perfectly, but now I live in a world where this guy can influence elections.
The weather.
He can affect the economy. He can affect the pandemic response. And I can think of, and again, Joe's a perfectly nice guy. I can think of a dozen other road comics who I'd rather have that power. You know what I mean? And I'm sure Joe would go, yeah, there are other people that should maybe have this power.
So when I did Mohr Sports on ESPN, we got Suge Knight as a guest, and everybody was like, extra security and this, and I said, no, like it's an interview show. Like, what's going to happen? So he came in with two guys, sat in the makeup chair, had a cigar lit the whole time, and I said, so Suge, man, I was going to ask you some, he wanted some questions in advance. So I just gave him all the questions in advance. Like, what do I care?
Yeah.
I got Suge Knight. It's a great get. And he goes, listen, I'd appreciate it. Crooked Eye is going to do some freestyle. And I go, well, we already booked Dave Navarro to be from Jane's Addiction to be the musical guest. He goes, well, he could come out during my interview and just show you what he's got. To which me and my writers went, yeah, absolutely. Like, who cares?
And how was it?
Guy was great.
He was?
But some guy, Crooked Eye, came out and he sat. It was like Jabba the Hutt with that little creature off to the side.
Yeah.
He just sat. It was so awkward. He sat on the arm of Suge's chair, which was not a like a brother who's down. Look, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like just very like awkward. And then I'm like, so I understand my man Crooked Eye is going to freestyle for it. And then Crooked Eye freestyled. The crowd applauded. Crooked Eye went away. I kept talking to Suge. I asked him if he hung Vanilla Ice out the window from the balcony. And he goes,
no.
He said, I don't recall that. And he goes, do you? I go, no.
Right.
I was in the bathroom. He goes, yeah, we were all in the bathroom. I go, yeah, I was in the bathroom. So Dave Navarro was going to perform from his solo album, Trust No One. And we have a montage behind him. Like this says Mohr Stories behind us. It was just a bunch of different like publicity shots of Dave Navarro. And Dave Navarro goes, bro, this is gay. Like, I can't. I'm doing this acoustic song and you're rolling these like handsome photos of me. And I'm like, well, what do you want us to do? You want it blank? And he goes, could you use Suge Knight photos?
Did you?
Yeah. So Dave Navarro's doing this song and it's like Suge Knight in a 3-point stance on the football field. Suge Knight with a cigar. It was the most incongruous, perfect. That was the show. That's like what we pulled off. It was so people can go like, oh, you got one season and got canceled. It's like, no, that was a smashing success. We did what we wanted under the confines of Disney.
And you brought Dave Navarro and Suge Knight together for the one time in their life together.
Yeah, I got that photo somewhere. All of us on stage.
That's pretty amazing.
He's just singing. It's just Suge Knight in high school flexing.
I played this mob club.
I see him all the time.
Mob club in Westchester, and I had the best Italian meal I'd ever had in my life. It was unbelievable. I go down, half civilians, half mob. I mean, split,
where was this?
Right up in Westchester, in the basement. Woman sitting up front. She's got a wig on, and her real hair is kind of sticking out. She's got a corsage, and I was right about to bust her. I go, excuse me, sweetheart, what's the corsage for? And out of the corner of my eye, peripheral vision, it's the best thing that God ever invented.
Wow.
This guy gets up, turns and looks at me like a gorilla, just started staring at me. She goes, today's my birthday. What's your name, sweetheart? Marie. How about a hand for Marie, birthday today? I go, you remind me of the fine women of my parish back in Miami. And then I go on and do my Catholic bit. Guy comes over later. Hey, you made my mother's night. He goes, if you would have said one bad word, I was going to put you in an oil drum. I go, Vinny, what did I say? You were going to put him in an oil drum. Oh, you were fan. He took $500, puts it in my pocket. You thank me, I'll fucking kill you. Now, can you imagine if I had said anything derogatory? I'd be dead. I saw him out of the corner of my eye.
It's like she died.
In the 96 NBA draft, there were 3 high school kids who entered the draft. It was Kobe Bryant, there was Jermaine O'Neal, and there was a guy named Taj Red McDavid. And he was a kid who basically, he averaged like 25 a game in high school. And everyone's saying, you should enter the draft. You should enter the draft. And he was a poor kid. He lived in a trailer. His uncle was like, you should do it. And literally nobody in the NBA knew who he was. Like nobody knew who he was. And he enters the draft. And once you do, back then, you couldn't, there's no going back. You're not going to college. So he enters the draft. He's shocked to find out he doesn't get picked. It becomes like this punchline. And he kind of vanishes. And I did a story years ago for Bleacher Report. I wanted to find him. And I went down to Palmetto, South Carolina, it might have been. I remember. I went to a trailer, mobile home unit, and knock on the door. And one of his uncles answered. And I was like, is Taj here? And he's like, yeah, come on in. And you would think, right? You actually would think this ends with a bad story where you show up and he's working at CVS and he's unhappy and blah. He was like a legal clerk. He like went back to school.
A 6'10" legal clerk.
No, he wasn't even that tall. He was like a shooting guard.
Yeah.
But like he had a daughter, was very happy, living a good life.
Great.
He was divorced, and like the joy unexpected. We have so many stories of athletes just like then they vanish and then they're in a convenience store. Then they're, and it was so joyful and people really seemed to like that.
Was there a time when you were studying film with Belichick, he would tell you at this time in this game with this play, this will happen. And that actually happened where you thought he was like a witch?
There's a lot of that kind of stuff. There was a lot of that kind of stuff. I remember once we weren't doing very well on our kickoff returns. And our special, so you have team meeting. Bill stayed in. We were struggling on the scheme. And he stayed in while the special teams coordinator was about to install what we were going to do for the week. And one of the craziest things was, he said, no, fuck that. Everyone stay in here. And he went player for player on the kickoff and the kickoff return team on what they were going to do. And he installed the play that week, and we housed a kick that week. He's like, this is what you're going to do. These guys are vulnerable on this. Art, you're going to come over here. You got MDM. He went out, and he explained to every single guy and installed a play that, we went out and ended up housing a kick that week, which, he did that a lot where he said, the game's going to come down to this. This guy is going to have 3 to 5 throws where he's going to give us an opportunity. If we don't give up a big play, we get a pick right here, we capitalize on that pick and get a touchdown, we're going to win the game. And something like that would happen.
Yeah. It seems like Belichick was a genius at that, like predicting or just finding out, like you said, 2 or 3 plays, 3 or 4 plays.
Yeah.
And the game of football, even though it's an hour, does it really just come down to 3 or 4 plays? And
no,
when
it doesn't. But it comes down to a collection of those plays. But one of your plays could be in that collection of plays that your team needs to win. You understand?
Yeah, it sounds like you're agreeing with me, but you framed it like disagreeing.
No, but maybe.
The song Hit 'Em Up. It's a Death Row produced song. And there's a songwriter named Fran Goldie who wrote the song with Dennis Edwards, formerly of The Temptations, called Don't Look Any Further. And Hit 'Em Up samples that song. And one day, Fran Goldie, who was a writer on this song, gets a call and says, can you come into the office? It's a rep. And she's like, so the rapper Tupac Shakur wants to sample the song. And she goes, oh, that's great. He's a big rapper. That's fantastic.
She had a baby.
Yes, she had a baby.
She needed the money, right?
Sure. But also that's cool, Tupac.
Yeah.
And this guy goes, you may want to read the lyrics. And it's, that's why I fucked your bitch, you fat mother. She's like, oh, she goes, I can't sample this. And guy goes, do you know who Suge Knight is? And she goes, I don't. And he said, unless you want someone coming to your house with a baseball bat, you might just want to let them use the song. So she granted rights. And she actually loves the song.
The other thing, too, that really sucks about comedy right now, and I still love doing it and I travel, but remember how we used to, in the 80s, go, I wish people would take comedy more seriously. Well, we apparently wished for that on a monkey's paw because now comedy is being just looked at under a friggin' microscope, and there's nothing more depressing and dangerous than when people say comedians are our new philosophers and truth tellers. Well, the media should be our truth tellers. Not if comedians are your truth tellers, then your civilization's about to collapse. You're about to go back into the dark ages because that's when the comedian was the truth teller. It was there so the king could go, yeah, I got a good sense of humor while I'm raping your daughter and sending your son off to war. Here's Corncob, the farting dwarf. He's going to call me fat. See, we're all even now. Like that is so these podcasters having Trump on their fucking podcast. Like, see, he's regular. It's like, no, you're good. What are you doing? You shouldn't be having politicians on your fucking podcast.
Oh my, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
I do.
I went to a dinner party and it was all professionals, lawyers, a dentist. They were very condescending. She said, Allan's wants to be a comedian. He's going out to clubs. I go, oh, that, like, I'm joining the circus.
Yeah.
Real condescending assholes. So this dentist says, what's it like to bomb? I said, okay, you got a kid in the chair, right? You got to pull a tooth. It's tough. It's not coming out. So you go get your pliers. You're pulling the tooth and you yank the kid's head off. Then the blood spray from his neck knocks your diploma off the wall. Then you look out in the waiting room and your wife is blowing all the guys you knew in high school. Then you jump out the window and the kid's head is calling you a loser. But it's not the kid's voice. It's your father's voice. That's what it's like to bomb.
Your father, then he's next blowing everybody from high school.